Hello, everyone. Welcome back to They Lied About Africa. I'm your host, Numbit, and if nobody told you the real story, I will. On today's episode, we have a guest, as you probably already know from clicking on the title and the thumbnail, but let me gas her up real quick because her story is crazy, okay? She is the CEO and founder of Sunu Body, an African-inspired skincare and wellness brand she started back in high school. This isn't just a side hustle, by the way. Her company's been featured in the Boston Globe, Her Campus, and she's landed both on Elf Cosmetics' Her Campus 22 Under 22 and Boston's 25 Under 25. Not only has she built a brand that patterns with artisans in Senegal to create what she calls thrivable income, she's also a TEDx speaker, the EY Youth Entrepreneur of the Year scholarship recipient, an NFTE New England champion, and a Skills USA winner. And did I mention she's only 20 years old? She's proving that you do not have to wait to be great. In fact, that was the title of her TEDx talk. So let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Zainabou Thiam. Okay, so Zainabou, I just introduced you with like all of these titles and awards: CEO, TEDx speaker, 22 under 22, and it sounds like you've accomplished so much just at 20 years old. But if someone met you outside of all of that, how would you introduce yourself in your own words?
Okay. Um, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Zainabou Thiam. I am 20 years old. I love, love, love anime. I'm a Chipotle connoisseur. I really like talking to people. I'm super into wellness and fitness as of right now. So, like going on walks, doing yoga, intentional breath. And if you were to find me anywhere, you would probably find me craving acai, so probably at Pliable.
I love Pliable. I miss Pliable ever since graduating. That's like the one place that I miss. It was like right on the street on Huntington Ave.
You're so lucky.
Ugh, but I live like 40 minutes from there now, so I can't even get Pliable anymore. But it's okay. I need to learn to make it, and I think I'll be satisfied. But no, that's wonderful. Yeah, we love a Chipotle queen. We love a Pliable queen. Feel me? And you like anime, girl? I've been trying to get onto it, but honestly, like I can't. I watched what's it called? Um um um
Death Note,
no, not Death Note, but I heard that is a good one.
Hunter x Hunter, no.
No, it was on Netflix and I watched it during COVID.
Attack on Titans.
Girl, you name it, a bunch that I've heard of but never watched. But it's one that's not even mainstream. That's the crazy part. Parasite, that's what it's called.
Okay, Parasite's a good one.
Yeah, and like I've been trying to get on watching more cuz like I watched it and I loved it, but I never ever since then like watched like anime. But you know what? It's okay. I maybe it'll come around one day. But no, I want to move on to the next question. So I know like a lot of us in Gen Z, like you know, you probably see it every day because you're at Babson, right? We have like side hustles or we have like little projects like mine being this podcast, but we don't always see them as like something that is real. So can you take us back to the exact moment where Sunyu Body stopped being just something fun like on the side and just became something you knew that was going to be a real brand?
Of course. It was definitely the day after my first vendor market. So to backtrack, when I started my company originally, it was around 2022. My mom was going to Senegal and I asked her to get me back bin bin or waist speeds because that was the time where everyone was trying to get closer to their African culture. For the first time in forever, it was cool to be African.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, yes, like I've been waiting my whole life for this. Like, mom, get me some waist beads. I
Right.
shared them out. But I guess it's February. I'm 16 years old, sophomore year. And I got curious and I let it take the best of me. And I asked her, if I give you $100, will you get me like as many things as you can at like, like the Senegalese marché? Like, can you go and get maybe like bin bin, Yempe, whatever you can find, and bring it back to me. And she did exactly that. And from there, it was literally like taking things from the suitcase from Senegal and sharing them out, sharing my culture, sharing like what made me feel confident, how I cared for myself with the world. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, at first, I just wanted to see how far it would go.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to be an entrepreneur. I just loved what my culture could offer me,
Mm.
the comfort it gave me, and I wanted to share that out with people.
Yeah.
And then this is me at 16. The summer before that, when I was 15 years old, I had two jobs. I was a camp counselor at the YMCA and I worked at IHOP. So together, both jobs, I think I was doing like 50 hours a week, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. But like I was hustling and bustling and it was super tiring. Like I gained weight, I got acne, which isn't super common for me, and I was just always tired. So when I started doing pop-up shops, I think my first one, it was April of 2022. So 2 months after I started like selling like random things from Senegal, I got I think $250 within like 4 hours. And that's what I would do within a week of work. And
Mm.
I was like, what? What is this? Like, and I was like, let's continue.
Mhm.
But I wanted to continue because I was like, this could be a way to free up a lot of my time and to like see where this could take me. But still, I always kept on hearing from like my family and like the people around me, like, this is just like, passive income, something you just do. But I was still expected to have a job. Like, this was just not a job. And it wasn't until the end of my junior year. So I started this sophomore year, the summer going into junior year. I did this. It took until the end of junior year since I started to then. I did pitch competitions. I shared my business. I shared everything, what I was doing, the money I was making, my passion for everything. I was sharing that with the world, public speaking. And I got invited by Ernst and Young for an award ceremony, and they gave me like this award called like Entrepreneur of the Year Scholar Award. And I was like, first of all, I didn't even know what Ernst and Young was. Like, I didn't know what EY was at all. And then I looked into it, and I was like, what? Like, no way. Like, I live in Woonsocket, and I think like the median income in Woonsocket is like what, 50K. So
Wow.
like a lot of people just worked really hard, but that doesn't mean that they were getting a lot of money out of it.
Mhm.
So I would say it was like a low income city. So I didn't really have access to what or how grand entrepreneurship could truly be
Right.
until I was in that room. And
Mm.
I was like, this is something that I can do. I always told people, like, oh my God, like, I would love to work for a big company one day, or I love this, I love that. But I didn't take that seriously until I was like, from the work I put in to doing this and sharing my story, it brought me here. They brought me to like this nice dinner in downtown Boston. I was like so many stories up. And I remember like you could tell I've never been in a room like that because my hand was all over the glass. My nose was on it. I was looking every I'm like, damn, we so high. Oh, like where am I? It's nice. And they were serving dinner.
Yeah.
There was steak and salmon. I'm like, both? Like, I thought it was a mistake. Apparently, that's surf and turf. I had never heard of surf and turf. I'm not gonna lie. And I was like, this is so nice. And I was like, these are only things I saw on social media or on TV, but not in real life. So I was like, shoot, like, if all of these random people believe in me and they actually are touched by my story, it's just not me just rambling and going on,
Yeah.
then who am I to not continue? And that's when I started to truly take the work I was doing and myself seriously.
But no, that's so beautiful. And yeah, I think it really just takes for that one person to kind of give you that opportunity, reach their hand out to you and present you with something. And then all of a sudden you're in just like a completely different environment. And like you said, growing up in Woonsocket, which is like a pretty low income area, you're not really exposed to those things. And I definitely think for anyone that would be a shock and would make them realize how, impactful and rewarding the field of entrepreneurship can be, especially like you mentioned, like you wanted to go to a big company. I think a lot of us, because of the education system, which is like completely valid, right? Like, want to enter like a conventional career path. So that's kind of all you know. If anything, entrepreneurship is taboo. Like I know for me, like when I used to hear about it like 2, 3 years ago, I'm like, oh, I'll do that when I'm 50 or when I'm 60. You know what I mean? Or if kids are like doing it, it's like this person's like a genius, or like, so to not only have like gone out of your way and do it at such a young age, but then to reap the benefits of it early, like I'm really happy that you were able to see that for yourself. So I'm glad. Now you described Sunu Body, I believe I read, as paying like homage to your ancestors, and it's rooted in something called teranga. And for those who are watching who don't know what teranga means, it's a Wolof word used in Senegal to describe like hospitality. Like you go to someone's house and they're giving you food, and maybe they even giving you the clothes off their back. Like they're just really taking advantage of the fact that like you are there and they really want to take care of you, and that's just how our culture is. And I guess my question is like, if your brand walked into a room as a person, like how would people feel its Senegalese identity? Like what details in your products or your business model actually carry that spirit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say by the look and the feel and the richness of it. I actually just recorded a reel about this. My last inventory order, I was incredibly disappointed. I had this vision for it. I wanted everything to be uniformed and even and look super mainstream. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was annoyed that my nyempis, they weren't cut like completely straight. And my black soap was like, it just didn't look like super professional. And then I realized that's not how it is. Senegal, Africa in general, we're known for our craftsmanship. Like I feel like somewhere down the line, especially in Western societies, that people kind of prioritize quick production over handmade with love.
Mm.
So our products are directly from Senegal. I don't alter it. It's nothing that I'm looking to do mass production, mass manufacturing with machines. Like you're getting it how you would if you were actually in Senegal. And
Right.
I think that genuine authenticity is what we bring to the table. I think a lot of people are always trying to alter things, and eventually down the line I'll probably start adding scents and modernizing a lot of the products that we do have just to introduce it to new audiences. But at the end of the day, something that I always want to keep with me is the core richness and authenticity of all of our products.
Mm-hmm.
Because my favorite thing is like when I use my black soap, like that's the same black soap I've been using my whole life. When I'm using my nyampe, it's the same thing I've had my whole entire life. And my favorite reaction when I'm like with customers, it's like, damn, I haven't had one since I was a kid, or damn, like I haven't replaced mine. Like, let me go do it. And I feel like there's usually no question, like, darn, like, where's this from? Like, no, I'm looking at it and I know like this is authentically African.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the times we feel like we have to pick one or the other. But I'm a firm believer in like, if you don't see an option, then you just create your own option. I'm very much an option number three, write your own answer. And I
Right.
think that's what Sunu Body is. It's write your own answer. We're bringing cultural authenticity. And I think us being so prideful in that is what is paying homage back to our ancestors. Because for so long, Africans, Black people in general, have been told to discard their culture and replace it for what is closer to a higher status, which is always just closer to whiteness or to a European standard.
Right.
And that means getting rid of what you already knew. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm even catching myself following into that trap. I want to bring the authenticity of what was provided by our culture, that pride, and going along with it, even if no one is, or if people aren't supporting it, then so be it, because it's not for everyone. Although I do want to bring this to everyone, some people just, they just won't get it. And I have to understand that. But I'm still going to continue because that's really important. And I believe paying respects to where we come from. And most importantly, like the people who are doing all of the work, it's so important to me.
No, I love it, and I love that you. I remember when we were in New York together and we went to a conference or a fest for Black Muslim women, and you were setting up your table, and you just got back to Senegal that night, I believe. And you kind of opened up everything, your inventory, and you were like, oh my gosh. Like you were disappointed, but I think, like you said, that authenticity just makes it so much more real. I feel like in a world where like we're becoming more modernized, especially in the West, and if you even look at like architecture nowadays or just like decor, like everything is white and just like so structured and even, it like it makes us feel like that is a cleaner look than like anything that comes from outside of the United States, right? So um I think that part of like catering to like whiteness and ignoring out part of where we're from is like catering to that minimalist and whiteness of everything rather than just embracing, you know, where we come from. And I think that's so beautiful. I think like I love seeing black soap that has like no like clear cut. I feel like if it's too clear cut, if it has a perfect shape, I'm a little skeptical. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, is this real black soap? Because there's a debate about that too. Like if this is real, this is not real. But when it's like in a bag, in a plastic bag, and it's just like soft and like you could just tell it's real. Like I don't know, that me personally, that's how I feel. But yeah, no, I love that, and I love that you were able to kind of come to that realization, right? And instead of adhering to the modern like standards of what something should look like when it's being marketed, you kind of just like allow yours to exist as it should be. And I think that's like the root of like your mission, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
But yeah, that's
wonderful.
wonderful.
Now, from
Now,
like
from
the outside, like kind of like I mentioned before, it looks like win after win, girl. Like again, Boston, was it 25 under 25, the TEDx, right? Um, but success without struggle, you and I both know, does not exist, right? So, can you share a moment with us where like you almost gave up, or where things went so wrong that like it just shaped you into the entrepreneur you are now?
I know that's so real. I mean, if you talk to me, I try to be super honest with everything. I try to explain to people, like, hey, like, yeah, like these are amazing achievements,
Mm-hmm.
but it's gotten to a point where it's like when I'm successful in something or when I get an achievement, I don't even celebrate myself. I think 25 under 25, I smiled and then I was like, damn, let me make a post now. I didn't even celebrate myself. And I think behind like the curtains, if I'm being honest, there's like a part of me that is still struggling with imposter syndrome, still struggling to believe like, yeah, like I deserve these things. I think one of it is me being one of the only people that look like me in a lot of the rooms that I am now entering.
Yeah.
I think also trying to figure out like, is this the right step? Because I literally started from taking a picture of inventory from a suitcase and posting it. Like my logistics, I'm basically a jiffy. There's no difference between me and a jiffy from Senegal. I am suitcase to suitcase and selling, like, you know?
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, oh, I don't have the proper logistics set up, or, you know, like sometimes like I'm super behind on like having my financial statements, and I am still learning so much. There are still so much things that I don't know or that I think I should have but I don't have, or I'm not just doing it in a manner where other business owners are. So I think there is still so much for me to learn. If anything, I like to give all of my success to, firstly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, it's all him. It's all him at the end of the day. But outside of that, I think it's my ability to tell a story.
Mm.
I think all of my achievements have came from me being able to tell a story, and a story that's real and authentic.
Mm.
I think a part of my achievements is people seeing like my intention, you know. I think attention is everything, you know, connecting this to Islam. It's all about intention, you know. My business is incredibly intentional and I'm trying to present it like that because at the end of the day, I started this not because I want to be a millionaire, which I do. Don't get me wrong. I want the money coming in.
Girl, who doesn't?
I wanted to create space for people back home to thrive.
Mm.
I wanted to share my culture with other people to connect them. And then also, like, I think doing this has boosted so much of my confidence. It gave me something to believe in. And I think my belief in this has also like propelled me to be able to like be in so many rooms. And it sounds like super corny, like, oh, like there's no direct formula or like you didn't have to do this or that. It's like, no, not inherently. Like it truly was like telling a story that had true meaning behind it, not fluff.
Mhm.
But in reality, don't know what I'm doing every day. I am running around trying to figure things out. I am 1,000% like super ADHD, and I do not pay attention to tiny details. It's always big picture thinking, but there's a lot of passion and intention behind everything I do. So I think it's taken me pretty far, and inshallah, it's going to take me further.
Inshallah. No, I'm proud of you and I'm happy for you and I appreciate you for being like humble about it, like saying like you don't know what you're doing. I don't think any of us know what we're doing, but I think that's like the beauty of it. I think we just have to like lead with grace and like just do as much as we can and leave the rest, you know? There's only so much you can really do as a human being, especially in entrepreneurship. Like it's like you're constantly working on things without guidance in a world where like there's so much structure around us. Like from the moment you step into kindergarten until you graduate college, like structure, you go to school Monday through Friday from this time to this time, you have lunch at this time, you take an exam every couple of months, or you have a midterms and finals, and it's just like structure after structure. But then when you're pursuing simultaneously, even at the same time, it's like you're living in two different worlds. And then like you kind of just feel lost, especially in that one, because there's no one really giving you direction in that one. You're kind of using the resources you have, of course, but it still feels like you're doing everything wrong. So I completely understand where you're coming from. Um, so you're only like 20 years old, and um, you're leading interns. You're running ambassador programs. You're working with artisans in Senegal. That is not easy at any age. So how do you like walk into these spaces where people might like doubt you, whether it's because of your age, your gender, or you're just new, and you still claim that authority?
Question I'm even asking myself how I do it most of the time.
Mhm.
This is pretty bad advice. I think I don't think about it too much. I don't think about what could go wrong inherently, unless it's like, I'm committing a crime. But if it sounds like a great idea, if I can see the marginal benefit that I can get from it, and it seems like something that I really want to do, I just figure out a way to do it. I think there's not a whole lot of structure. I think I'm still trying to figure out exactly like how I do so, but like I said, going back to the last question, it's really all about my passion
Mhm.
and my drive to do things. When I traveled around the world and taught entrepreneurship at like 18, I just thought it would be a really cool thing to do. Like it sounds insane, but I was like, oh my God, like let's do it for the plot. Like, why not? Like you were given this amazing opportunity to do all of these things. Like you gotta give it back. You gotta give it back to people who need it. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's figure out a plan. It always starts the same thing. I have an idea and I write it down. Once I write it down, I create what I like to call an execution plan. What do you need to do by what time to make sure you can do it? And I just try to figure it out as I go. A lot of the times, I think my passion will drive me, and sometimes, I'm off lane and it doesn't really work out, but, like I put my head forward and I think I just do my best to humbly like take the L. It's not always perfect, but I think when you think too hard about things, you psych yourself out.
Yeah.
I always try not to psych myself out. I just try to be, again, sounds super cliche. I really just try to be myself. And I really just try to like be in the moment and I just be happy to be where I'm at. So if I am working with my interns, I try to be pretty honest. I try to let them know, like, hey, this is my first time doing this, but I am doing my best. And I am really excited and humbled to have you guys work with me. If I am speaking somewhere, I let people know, like, guys, I am so excited to be here. My body says it, my words say it, the expression on my face says it too. And I think that's what it is. When I am somewhere, I put all of me there. I am incredibly present in the moment, or I at least try to be. And I'm very intentional with what I am giving out to people, right? And what that intention is for me to give myself out authentically, because I think we've come to a day and age where so many people are always trying to figure out who they're going to be every day. But I feel like that's just so much work. Just show up as yourself. I love the quote, stop trying to be someone else. Everyone else is taken, but you're available.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, let's do that. And I think in a lot of rooms, people try not to show it, but a lot of the times they are nervous. So when you show up as yourself, you're going to be that much more confident because you know that role the best. Out of any other role you could ever play, you know that the best. So I just try to be me. I'm not really big into roles or rules. Has never been my thing. I still like to be like a little funny, make some jokes here and there. I try to talk like as authentically as possible, and you know, it's worked out. But like I said, a lot of the times I do get really bad anxiety. It's been happening a lot more recently, and I think it's because I am at places like Babson where I am like the only black person there, the only woman there, the only Muslim there, the only black woman Muslim there. So it's like a lot. So it's been making me really anxious. And sometimes I feel like I am not worthy to be in the rooms I'm at. But nevertheless, I still go and I still do my best. And if it's not my best day, then hopefully the next opportunity or the next thing I do is my best.
Girl, don't ever feel like you don't belong in a certain room. And I think that, like, sometimes when we get discouraged because we're in certain spaces where we don't see people who look like us, I think that's the point. I think we have to be in those spaces because if people who look like us or, you know, don't share the same values as us aren't in those spaces already to begin with, that's an issue, right? We have to value diversity. We have to kind of make that sacrifice, unfortunately, but like just kind of suck it up. Not the best way to say it. I sound very red pill, but like kind of just gotta, realize that, like, okay, well, I am in this space right now where people don't look like me. Am I going to allow that to dictate my life choices, or I'm going to use that to my advantage to build the path for the people who come after me, right? I feel like the world is becoming increasingly diverse, and especially in the United States, more people of color are entering those top tier colleges and things of that sort. Not in a fast rate, of course, but there will be people who are coming after you, is what I'm trying to say. And if, because of the fact that you stepped in a room and you noticed discrepancies and you there were accommodations made for you because of things that you called out, or whatever the case might be, simply due to your presence, you are paving the lane for someone else to make it easier for them, and just like our ancestors did for us. So it's unfortunate, but that's like a way I try to think about it as well. When it comes to anything that I do where I notice that I'm someone who's doing it, the only person who's like me, the only person who's doing it is me, or like I don't look like the majority of people who are doing it. So I completely understand where you're coming from. Something like my listeners and I talk about a lot is that disconnection in the diaspora. Like, you feel like Africa is both close and like far from home, but your products have literally become a bridge for people to feel that connection again. So what goes through your mind when a customer tells you Sunu Body helped them feel closer to home? And I think you touched upon it earlier by mentioning how one thing that you love is when people buy a product from you, they're like reminded of, you know what, it's time for me to like change it, and things of that sort, like their nut sponge, for instance, which they hold on to for years.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's the best feeling in the world,
Mm-hmm.
being able to complete my mission of bringing people closer to their culture. But I think for me, it's like I need to continue doing this. The diaspora is very large, and there are so many people who are detached from home. So I think like it being my mission to like, if there's one piece of you that I can bring back, then this is that. Everyone has that one African friend that gets them things from Africa, and I want to be that friend for everyone. I think it's really important for me. I felt very disconnected from myself during my teen years, and I think that's because I threw away my African identity. I just wanted to fit in and just be a regular Black American and not be attached to who I truly was. But once I learned to embrace it, it made me one feel more confident in myself. I felt more connected to who I was and my identity. And most importantly, I felt so pretty. I felt so much prettier because I realized I looked like the people I come from. I felt more connected to home. And that's because in Senegal and West Africa and Africa in general, wherever your home is, there are rituals that connect you closer to who you are and the people who've come before you, because they knew how to take care of their skin and they knew how to take care of their hair. And I want to bring that to people.
No, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, you are that one friend that I'm gonna ask for every time. Like, I feel like I do that all the time, but no, I love how you want to be that person for everyone. That's super important. My last question is, your TEDx talk was called "Why Wait to Be Great," and I think that that's the perfect message for anyone who's like in the African diaspora. Maybe they were born here and they grew up here and they visited back home every now and then. Or maybe they were born back home, but then they came here when they were really young and they still make that trip. But like they've been in the West longer than they've been in the motherland. And um, I guess like my question to you is like if you were talking to that audience or that specific 18 or 17-year-old or 24-year-old who's listening right now who feels like they are too broke, too young, or too unsupported to start anything, what would you tell them?
What would I tell them? I would ask them, what is the actual reason? You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's always a cover up. You don't know the day you're gonna be a millionaire or make enough money. You don't know the day you're gonna lose weight. You don't know the day of anything. You have an assumption and you have a plan, but this is life. You never know what tomorrow will bring. Only God knows that. And when you take it upon yourself, you're doing a disservice to yourself, because what if that day never comes? There are so many people who say like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then once this day comes, I'm going to do it. What if you pass away? God forbid. What if something worse happens to your situation? So for me, something I've always tried to do is when you have an idea, look at the feasibility of it and then attack it. Start as soon as possible. You did that when you had the idea for the podcast. You're like, Nabu, I really want to start this, and I think it's feasible. Like, this is how I'm gonna do it. And my advice to people will always be, so do it. Just start. It's going to be super messy and you're not gonna always know what you're doing, but at least you have something to work with. You can't work with nothing, right? If you want to start a business but you don't have enough money, then do market research. That's free. You don't need money for that. You just need time and effort. You want to lose weight, but you don't have time to work out, start going on walks. Park farther away from the grocery store so when you're walking, you get more steps in. There's always something that you can do, but when you give yourself reasons on why you're not doing it, it's it it masks as procrastination. And that's what it truly is. And a lot of the times that just comes from us not believing in our ability to do so, you know? But if anything, you're just doing a disservice to yourself for waiting all of those what ifs or when I's, right? I like to call it the case of the when I syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
But you're never going to be ready. So you might as well just start now and figure it out as you go, because if it's for you, it will come to you with time, effort, passion and intention, it will always come and fall into your lap.
Thank you so much for that very beautiful response and inspiring, motivational. You definitely touched a soft spot in my heart. I'm definitely gonna be thinking about that. But no, thank you so much for coming on, Zainabou. I really appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to be on the podcast.
I appreciate you having me. I'm super excited and happy for you.
And that's where we'll end today's discussion with Zainabou Thiam. At just 20 years old, she's shown us what it looks like to not only dream, but to act, to take culture, identity, and community and turn it into something tangible. A brand that feeds families, connects the diaspora, and redefines what entrepreneurship looks like for Africa. What inspires me most about Zainabou is that she didn't wait for the perfect time, quote unquote. She didn't feel like she needed to move to Africa or for someone to give her permission. She started with simply what she had. And she grew it step by step. And she's still working on it, right? But what matters is that she started. And I think that's a message I want all of us to kind of just take away. Like, you don't have to wait to be great. Nothing's going to be perfect when you start it. And Africa doesn't need us to wait, right? The diaspora doesn't need us to wait. What we build today can become the foundation for generations tomorrow. And that's why my podcast exists, right? I want to hold space for stories like hers and stories like yours. And if you're out there building something for Africa, for Africans, or if your work is inspired by the motherland and reclaiming our story, I want to hear from you. This platform is bigger than me. It's a movement, and your voice matters in it. So reach out to me directly at theylightAboutAfrica@gmail.com. Or if you know someone whose story deserves to be told, drop their name in the comments or message me on Instagram, also at theylightAboutAfrica, or on TikTok as well under the same handle. Because together we're not just talking about Africa, we are rewriting the narrative. Until next week.